Okay, welcome back, Double Team fam. Did I yell that?
Did you what?
Yes. All right, welcome back. How are we doing? Welcome to another episode. Okay, I'm not doing that intro ever again. Sorry, guys. I'm trying out new material.
She wants to change up her intro.
I
don't know what that was.
I don't know what that was, but that is nixed from the list. Anyways, welcome back to the pod. One of our fave guests. We have Somatic coach and author Irene Morning. How are you? I'm so sorry.
I'm here for it. It's just gonna be one of
Completely
those days.
butchered that.
I don't
What
really
was
know
that?
what I'm doing.
But she's been on the pod before, so thanks for coming back.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yay, we're glad to have you.
Yeah. How's life? I know you just had a big move.
It's good. I'm in a lot of transition and haven't actually stopped moving since Burning Man yet. So I'm like,
I forgot you went to Burning Man. I'm sorry.
You did.
I was like, on both sides, you both went,
Okay, actually, yeah, give us a lowdown on that. Like,
Did you have a fun experience? How was it?
So I'm an odd duck when it comes to Burning Man. I've had a really contentious relationship with it until this year.
Okay.
And me going this year was me being like, okay, this is kind of my last ditch effort to like make peace with it.
Yeah.
And I came out of it like, oh my God, I love Burning Man.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay. Even
Yeah.
considering all the weather shit that happened?
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
that part was like not that bad for me personally.
Okay. You had a good setup and everything with your camp.
Yeah, had a good setup. Really loved the camp I was with. And, you know, I realized almost instantly in that moment, actually, when they were saying, okay, like, don't expect to get out of here till Tuesday, like, really one of the great things about being self-employed is like that moment hits and everyone else is panicked about work.
Yeah.
And like, how am I going to communicate with work and
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
And you're like,
And I was kind of like, you know what? I'm in charge of my own schedule. I scheduled in buffer with my clients. No one's expecting to see me till Thursday. Like,
Nice.
this is going to be fine.
oh, good.
Exactly.
And weirdly, the only person that I was able to text was my dog sitter. And she was like, I can hang around. It's not a big deal. I was like, this is amazing.
Aw. Well, I'm glad that worked out.
so you
yeah.
weren't like one of the therapists that was sending out, hey, due to weather reasons, I'm unable to leave my trip.
I did wind up actually moving the clients that I had scheduled for that Thursday. Like wound up getting back even later than planned and was like, I'm not actually going to be back at my computer by then. So
Were
bumped a
you
couple of
there
those
the full
appointments.
time?
I arrived on Sunday evening and was there until the following Tuesday afternoon. So I wound up
Wow.
on Playa like 9 days.
Yeah. Good amount of time.
Yeah.
We want to do Burning Man, but we just have yet to like take the plunge and go. So I don't know. But the astrology,
lot.
it is a lot. And the astrology for Burning Man doesn't look great for the next couple of years, according to one of our favorite astrologers that we follow. So we were
Yeah, I
like,
believe
okay,
it.
we'll look at it and consider, maybe next year, see how it plays out. But I've heard great stories about Burning Man. So I want to experience it at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I also have a lot of shit to talk about Burning Man, but that can be a different conversation.
No, this episode's not about
both
Burning Man.
and. It's a both and. It's a big both and. But,
Well,
but I finally got the and this year.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. So this episode, like I told you just before we started recording here, I wanted to talk about anger.
Yes.
Anger comes up a lot.
One of my favorite topics.
Well, so the reason that I thought you'd be great for this because, just from like your book and like the conversation we had last time. And so I was like, okay, this would be the perfect time to have this discussion. So I went to my Reiki girl. I think this was like early July. And she was, doing the Reiki on me and everything. And she was like, you just have this big ball of anger sitting right here on your chest. And I was like,
And you were like, fuck off.
yeah. I was like, no, you're right. Like I was feeling that ball of anger. And she was like, I keep hearing it's not fair. There's something that you just haven't felt was very fair. And she was like, saying all the things that came up. She was like, I really think you need to find a way to release this anger. Mm-hmm. And she was like, and I think you need to find a way to do it physically. She's like, whatever forms of like speaking or like, trying to express yourself like verbally has not been like, what you need to do to process it. So I was like, okay. She was like, go have your tantrum. She was like, I feel a tantrum here. You need to go have your tantrum. And then when I was thinking about like everything that angered me, and like I made a big long list. This was a whole evening. Cammie went to go see her dude, and I had an evening to myself. Yeah. And I went and just wrote like a big long list of everyone I was angry at. So I was like, my ex-husband, because I had to do all the shit when we were separating. I had to sell the house. I had to sell the airplane.
You should have taken a bigger cut.
Yeah. Anyways, Cammie, because every time we fight, she doesn't like it when I yell. So it's like I have to like suppress my anger around her. And then I was like mad at one of my exes because when I looked at our relationship, I realized that like it was just a lot of love bombing and trauma bonding all in one, and it not, whatever. Anyway, so I did all of this, and then I was like, okay, now I've identified what I'm angry about. I was like, now I need to like release this physically. So I put on Linkin Park on my earphone or headphones because
Which song?
Lying from You, but also I had on loop some other ones like Hit the Floor, Numb. Yeah, I'm a big Linkin Park girl. Anyway,
Same.
Anyways, so I put Linkin Park on, and then I just like let the rage like build, and then I just took the pillows from my couch. I made sure all the pets were out of the way, and just started like smashing the pillows on the ground. And it felt so fucking good.
Yeah, I bet.
It was like whatever that ball of anger was, like it just exploded. And then afterwards, I literally felt 1,000 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
Like, and then on top of that, I had like this tension in like my like traps, neck area. I don't know what you want to call it. Anyways, I had this tension here, and it like worked itself out. Like the following days after that, suddenly I was like, oh wow, like whatever that ball was right there, I was like, it's gone. Anyways, it was so cool. And then funny enough, like a week later, one of our friends, she was like telling us about some issues with her ex-husband or with her current husband. And then she was just like, I just feel like I can never like express myself. She was like, I have a really hard time. Like I want to get angry and I want to like do something. She's like, but I never know how to. So I'm like, try the pillow thing. And so like I realized in that moment, I was like, I bet, especially like, in relationships, like with our partners, like you never want to get violent, but like sometimes you have anger that you want to express. And so I think people can get really lost on that. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. There was my little story of the anger.
I think the thing I love the most about that story is like, that's actually like the practice that you just described for yourself is actually something that I assign people sometimes.
Really?
Like
nice.
Almost verbatim, like how you just laid that out.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I came up with that on my own.
So you're doing it right.
Yay. Okay. I did it right.
Irene's seal of approval.
Perfect. I'll take it.
Yeah, but I agree with you that I think like when it comes to being like in the context of relationship, we do get really lost on how to express that because it's a different thing to take ourselves through that practice and feel like, we've got the house to ourselves and we're going to like get the pets out of the way and just like really unleash it. And then when you're talking to someone, whether it's a friend or a partner or a sibling or whatever, whoever's sitting across from you, that anger is going to have an impact on them. Right. And most of us, at least in this culture, as we're growing up, there's not really a lot of space for kids to be angry and for that to like be acknowledged and accepted and okay.
Yeah, because parents usually when they see the kid having a tantrum, they're like, no, they want to stop that. They want to contain it, or they want to get them to a place where they calm down. Yeah, that's a good point.
There's a lot of like, here's how to behave well, or like what's considered good behavior as you're being raised. And most of it gets us suppressing our anger or avoiding our anger or disconnected from our anger, right? Like think of like all the kids that you knew in like middle school who were deemed like the bad, the like rebel kids or who were having a hard time, like really going through something. They had plenty of reasons to be angry, but like, it gets displaced in this way
because they can't do it at home.
Right. Yeah. And because like we live in this culture that's like doesn't understand how to process it, doesn't understand like how to give people that outlet. And so once you've spent, 20 something years operating that way, and then you get into adulthood, you like to work with anger in a healthy way. Most of us have to like unlearn something, relearn something about how to actually like feel it and express it and communicate it. I mean, I'll tell you, a lot of the people who show up in front of me for sessions have a hard time even feeling anger.
Interesting. Wait, why? Like they like identifying it as anger, or in what way?
Sometimes identifying it as anger, but sometimes it's so deeply ingrained that anger is not an option, that they've gotten pretty deep into adulthood just like without it being in their emotional lexicon.
Interesting.
Ooh, so then what does it transpire into?
Well, I find, and this is like really just kind of anecdotal from my own practice, but a lot of those clients will have some other like level of dysregulation in the body, and will have to kind of be working through like, okay, you're not speaking up for yourself, or you're not allowing yourself to acknowledge what harm has been done to you by other people, or where your boundaries are being violated. It often is a very like, I'm the problem, I should be figuring out how to take better care of myself.
People pleaser 101, like you.
People pleaser and kind of like self-targeting.
Yeah.
Right. Of
Well,
like,
no, that's what I'm saying. As a people pleaser, sometimes like, you know, you take that and instead of like realizing it like, oh, the person did this and it's making me feel this, instead they're like, oh, this is all my fault, I did this. And
Yeah.
Right. And for me, it's like the skill set we're missing there is being able to like feeling like we can be effective at advocating for ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. And saying like, oh, this actually doesn't work for me, and I need you to do something about it. For a lot of us, especially if we, you know, grew up that way of feeling like anger is not an emotion I'm allowed to feel, we're also missing that skill set of like, hey, something's not working for me here, let's work it out differently.
Interesting. I feel like I don't think as kids we ever had tantrums a lot. I'm trying to think of that. But I do feel like as teenagers, we expressed anger a lot.
my anger is in the form of crying profusely. So
Well, we would physically fight as teenagers.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
one time Nikki came home, she made me so mad. I took the back of her head, scrunched up her hair, and smashed her head against the wall.
it was really bad. We were violent. It was bad. We have scars. I think it's been past 7 years, so a lot of them have gone away. But like
Nikki one time took a ladle and smacked my pinky so hard.
Oof.
people are gonna think we're like we grew
like
out
my
of that.
hands like started tingling when
Yeah.
you said that.
But I never like
They're
I guess
straight.
I've always been able to like identify when I've been angry. It's just like in my obviously my adulthood I've like figured that like can't be expressed as we did when
In
we were
violent
teenagers.
ways.
Yeah, in violent ways can't be
Yeah, we
expressed.
can't
like
hit
that.
each other.
Yeah, no, we can't. No, I mean what I appreciated about like my ex-husband was that like him and I would like we would allow each other to like yell and like really raise our voices if we wanted to, if we wanted to like have a lot of expression in the way that we said things, like that was okay. And we had conversations about that. We were like, I don't mind if you're yelling, da da da. Whereas like Cammie, when we're fighting, like she doesn't like yelling. So
Well,
it's
because our
like
parents they
are
yell
yelled a
so
lot.
much when
Yeah.
they're angry. Our parents yell so much. So the way that for me that's like evolved through time is that like when I'm angry, I don't want to. Sometimes like if I'm ultra angry, I will yell. But if I'm not, if I'm just like regular angry, I will most likely like cry. Or I'll get like in this really quiet tone voice like that. Like I just like I bring it down, but like it's
very focused and
Yep.
direct.
yeah.
And then afterwards, like, I don't really know. I feel like for me, I think about like how I let myself express anger, and usually like I try to contain it so much, and then afterwards, like I find myself like needing to like shake
Erupt.
it out.
Yeah.
So
You two are so healthy.
Is that good?
well, my therapist, my somatic therapist, told me like whenever I'm feeling a lot of emotions and I need to like dispel it, like to make sure that like at the end of like the confrontation or whatever, she was like, one of the things that we came up with that works for me is to like shake it out like a dog.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
literally.
Yep.
I mean, I mean, I'm being a little facetious, but like, it is actually really healthy to like let yourself go through the wave of emotion and then figure out what your body needs to actually like complete the cycle of whatever that emotion is.
Yes. I used to not be able to do that. I would always get stuck in the like, what do I do now? And now I've been able to figure out how to do it.
Same. I feel like my journey, at least especially recently, before I would go to the gym, I would go on a walk or run, whatever. But now I'm like, okay, if I can throw the pillow or like have that little moment or whatever, then I feel a lot better. But it did make me wonder, like, you know, for couples, like, you know, or for like, kind of like you said earlier, if not everyone has like that container, like I'm very curious to see like what ways you would recommend for people to like, you know, help release anger together in a way, in whatever way they can. Because I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, like, you know, my ex and I, we had our ways, but like, you know, in the future, like, you know, that might look different with someone else. And I don't know, but the whole thing made me really curious. So,
Well, so I think it's a really interesting and I feel important topic. Actually, as I was on my way over here, I was just thinking about somatics in general and what I wish people knew more in like stepping into somatics. And actually what I was thinking about was getting more in touch with anger and grief, really.
Grief, yeah.
Because I think people often see it as like, okay, I'm going to get into somatics to unlock wherever I'm stuck and like mostly feel good, right? Like feel better in my body in addressing anxiety or depression or whatever's bringing you into some somatic modality. And the thing is that as we start working with the body more and building your capacity to feel your feelings, more likely than not, you're going to also be feeling more anger and sadness and whatever those feelings are as well.
Because as you unlock more, start finding
like,
things that you didn't know were there.
Right. And if we're doing somatic work effectively, what we're building up is our ability to feel whatever's there. We're not dictating what the feelings are. We have to process like whatever's showing up. So to more directly answer your question, I think when people are working with anger in the context of a couple, it really depends on those particular individuals' relationship to anger and if they have certain triggers around anger. Because while I want to sit here and say that like expressing your anger however you need to should in air quotes for anyone who's listening, be an option and should be on the table, if that triggers your partner in a way where they either shut down or get kind of like over threshold activated, they're no longer in the process with you.
Yeah.
And so like,
Because that's going to throw them into something else.
right. So like maybe you've expressed your anger, but to what end? Like, has it actually addressed anything with them if then they're no longer able to be like present with you? You know what I mean? So when we're doing that kind of communication work in a couple, it's useful to understand, okay, does my partner have a shutdown response to anger, or does it really quickly get them activated, like more in the direction of anger or anxiety or, you know, the other end of that spectrum?
Or triggers, you know? Yeah.
Right. And then kind of understanding as the starting point, what are the ways that we can kind of like build up the tolerance for expressing anger? And it might mean that like at first, when I feel angry towards a partner, I'm going to go have that one-on-one tantrum with myself, right? I'm going to go do all the like getting it out of my body that I need to on my own, and then be able to come to my partner and say, hey, can we talk about something that made me angry at some point? And like you schedule that conversation, and then it's a very like calm,
Chill
communication that they've had some heads up about. And so they're, well, and again, depending on the person, for some people that's anxiety provoking. They want to just hear about it. Some people like the heads up and some time to prep.
Interesting.
But then there's other things where, you know, I'm thinking about actually in my own personal life, I was like really, really, really angry with my partner this summer. And there was a period of that like kind of building up without me getting to like fully express it, or like we would talk about it and I kept saying, I don't feel like I'm fully getting this across. And he he started to be like, okay, I don't know what else
To say.
to like what do you, I think I'm hearing you, like I hear that you're angry, and I was kind of like, yeah, but I'm still angry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
not resolved.
Like it's not coming out of my body toward you. Like you're not seeing how intense it is in my body, because I've gotten so good at kind of just like having the conversation, you know? And there came a point where it was like, okay, I'm really going to just like get this out of my system in sort of having the tantrum in front of you.
Oh, how did that go?
It went well, and I felt way more satisfied at the end of it, and I felt like what I had been trying to say had landed in a way that was more impactful. And I think we were able to do that in part because we'd been having that conversation so many times, and it was like, okay, something's not like fully
Aligning. Yeah.
like clicking.
Yeah.
And also because we waited, I think, until he was in a place where he was available for that.
Yeah.
Right. And like, that's part of the,
Like hold space for it. Yeah.
right. Like he had the capacity then to hear me differently than like when that tension point like first arose.
Okay. Makes sense.
Right. So I think there's also a question of like, how available are both people to actually have that conversation or have that tantrum space?
Create it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Container for anger.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, the last time I was here, we were talking about like being in your animal body to kind of like work things out after like maybe one of you's been on a date with someone else.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of similarity
In that.
in like
Yeah.
actually getting to like express anger with your body and like slam a pillow down or like stomp your feet. I mean, I will actually have clients do this thing that I call dead bug, where like you lie on your back and you put your arms and legs up in the air and just like scream and kick and shake, and like you're actually like throwing a 2-year-old temper tantrum.
Love that. Love that.
I think that's great.
The animal thing is still one of my most favorite things I've ever heard. I still think about that all the time.
Nikki talks about it all the time.
I do.
Have you tried it?
I haven't yet. Well, actually, not like with another person. I'm not dating anyone currently. But I will say, whenever I was having my tantrum, I did at one point get on all fours and just like shake and just kind of like try to like let it all kind of have like that final like release towards the end. And it was just so funny because like at that point, my dog like kind of came out of the room and was like coming up to me and like started like licking my face, and I was like, I'm okay.
I know, the animals.
It was actually, we just put this together the other day when we were trying to do Reiki on my dog, because he's the one that when we both got hit by a car. And it was the funniest thing because he doesn't chew anything in the house.
Except for his toys.
Except for his toys. He's really good about like not chewing anything in the house except his toys. But we found that like a couple times we let him out, he chewed one pillow. And it happened to be the pillow that I kept repeatedly slamming across the room when I was angry.
Oh, interesting.
And so the Reiki girl was like, she was like, he's absorbing a lot of your stuff. She was like, he feels like angry for you. And it had to do with my abandonment stuff. But she was like, and then that's when it clicked for us that like the pillow that I was using to have my tantrum with is the pillow that my dog chewed, because he was like, fuck you.
Oh my God. I love it.
I thought it was the cutest thing. But yeah, the animal body is still one of my favorite things. And we actually told that to our friend too when she was asking, you know, about ways to like help with some of the anger that she was feeling. I was like, try the animal body. And they have land. So I was like, get out there and just like
Go to nature.
Go to nature, get out there, shake it out, whatever you need to do. But I mean, kind of to the whole anger thing, I had a point that I just lost when I was thinking about Lobito and licking my face. He was so cute. Oh, jealousy. I was thinking because like, at least for me, and I kind of like the conversation where it's like, you know, you can have a discussion over and over, but like sometimes like you need to kind of have the tantrum. And I feel like at least in some of my previous relationships, jealousy was one of those ones that like you'd kind of get stuck on, and you'd have the conversation a lot, but like you never like at least for me, there were some cases where like it wasn't ever really fully resolved. It was just kind of like, okay, well, that's just like inner work for you and inner work for me, and like we'll get back to it later. I remember that was the case with my ex-husband. And so like as you were saying that, I was like, I don't think that like at least back then we had really gotten into like maybe some of like the anger or any of like those kind of emotions that came with jealousy that was like starting to like build up. And so like even though we were talking about it and like trying to like intellectualize it and, you know, work through that and like, you know, have the discussions, it like never really always progressed or never really fully progressed because I like when I think back to it, I just don't think we ever actually like acknowledged maybe the way that like our body was like storing that and internalizing it. So that was an interesting.
Well, I think the other thing that comes up for me in that example is I'm having a little deja vu. Maybe I said this last time, but one, I think probably like the number one piece of like relationship research that changed my perspective on relationships was the Gottman Institute did this study where like what they distilled out of it basically was that 69% of conflict in relationship is unsolvable.
Did you say that in the last episode?
I don't remember that.
Maybe I didn't.
Or it might have been another podcast or something, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
maybe
gotta
you
sit-
just hit a checkpoint. That's how I see deja vu.
deja
But
vu.
69%. Okay, that's
A funny
interesting.
number.
yeah, I know, right? I'm like, are we
69%.
sure they didn't manipulate the research here just to like pull it over
It
on
was
all of us?
68, but we rounded it up to 69.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, this is too close. We got to make it better. No, but I mean, if you think about that, that's like
That's a
it's a big number.
percentage.
It's
Yeah.
a big percentage of any conflict that you might be experiencing in intimacy, right? So the thing that I think is important to understand, like what I take from that is we're not necessarily going to have every tension point turn into something that like we find the new agreement and then it goes away.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think everyone on the face of the planet who's been in intimate relationship before has had the experience of feeling like, okay, I feel like we're having the same argument over and over again.
So you have to like agree to disagree. That's you and I.
Which also, I want to hear about that.
So I mean, it's funny.
Well,
'cause-
no. Continue.
Well, so the thing for me about that is it's not how do we resolve the issue. It's how do we communicate better about it and express ourselves more clearly and manage it differently.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
It's
manage it.
not necessarily like how do we solve this problem. It's how do we collaborate
Learn to
on
live with it.
navigating
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Right, understanding that it's probably just going to be like part of our dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that for me actually is like a huge permission slip to just have a container around anger where it's like, yeah, if we're going to keep hitting on this thing, we're going to keep having anger come up. That's okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing unless it's like really detrimental to one of us or both of us or whatever. But how do we get more comfortable with each other expressing anger?
Yeah.
And I mean,
And actually, you could tie that into jealousy, non-monogamy.
yeah.
Because
I mean,
you're always going to have to
just
deal
about
with that
anything,
for
yeah.
some
Exactly.
people.
And that's why, like, in that example, when we're talking about jealousy, it's like we can get more comfortable with the dynamics of non-monogamy, and some of us are always going to experience jealousy.
Yeah.
And some of us are going to maybe not experience jealousy for a really long time and then have that one scenario where it comes online like super fucking hard. And you might feel angry about it, and that's okay. But being able to discern, part of what I think is really useful about like having those body practices where you get it out of your physical body is then afterwards it's easier to discern what am I upset about in a way that maybe actually needs addressing. Like, is there something left over that tells me I want to change something about the actual dynamic here, or I want to amend the agreements that we have, or I really need my partner to just hear this one thing, as opposed to when you're in like the heat of all the anger, it can kind of be like a big internal jumble.
yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
I really like what you said about the permission slip, because I do agree that like it might, like for some people hearing like you're probably not going to resolve it, so just like learn how to navigate it is probably like in some ways like a big, you know, weight off your shoulders, because it's true. We're not always going to be able to like resolve everything. So,
well, and I think it kind of takes that like ideal partner thing, like out of being like so hyper romanticized.
Yep.
For me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of like, if you're looking for the quote unquote the one or like the perfect fit, and you think that that's not going to have any conflict or tension in it, like good luck.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, honestly, like I think so much of a relationship is like learning how to fight together.
Totally.
Like, and I think back to like my marriage, you know, we were together 10 years and like majority of that time was learning how to fight. In the beginning, we sucked at it. Then we found some new methods, and then, you know, new things would come up, and like, and then we'd have to like revisit some old methods, but then also come up with new ones. And so it's like, you know, because, and I feel like we experience that now living together. We haven't fought this much since, you know, we lived together back in high school. Yeah. Except obviously now we're like
living with people is
it's hard.
It's
hard.
really tough.
It's fucking hard.
And it like does like incite a lot of conflict. So it's like, you know, that's why we started therapy, was because we needed to like learn how to fight. And so like for couples or for anyone like with, you know, relationships where like, you know, you spend a lot of time together, business partnerships, like whatever, like it's always good to spend some time like learning how to fight and being like, okay, I need to do this. What do you need to do? How are we going to attack this? Like all those things, because if you don't, then, you know, you're just going to be like constantly running up against these walls. And then, and I mean, at least for us, like, you know, even if sometimes we feel like it's just stalemate after stalemate, at least like we know that we like have tools and we communicate and we like open up and we get vulnerable. But like, I know a lot of people don't always like have kind of like what you were saying earlier, you know, based on their programming from, you know, their childhood or whatever, they may not always have kind of like that, those pathways to like, no, okay, you know, this is how I'm going to identify this, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, it's a really tough thing overall, like as a subject, and very nuanced, but it's something that I think like at every relationship, it's like, how do we learn how to fight?
And I mean, I'm so on board with everything you're saying. And one of the things that I say to clients a lot that actually I touch on in the book a fair amount is that when we understand how to navigate conflict effectively, it can be really, really, really supportive to deepening our intimacy. Like understanding what those pain points are for other people and learning more about them in ourselves. And for most of us, it's like actually really corrective to have our pain or our frustration or our anger held in relationship and feel like it's safe to express it in relationship. And yeah, there's a lot of like deeper connection that comes out of learning how to do that well.
And makeup sex.
Exactly.
I miss that so much. Like a next partnership I have, I'm starting a fight just so we can have makeup sex.
I mean, I get it.
Because like, and oftentimes, you know, anger can feel a lot like arousal to the body at least. So yeah, but no,
I
I
only
agree.
had that happen once.
Really?
Anger to arousal. With my ex-fiance. Yep, just once. Actually, wait, you know what? No, with my ex Mike. That happened twice. 3 times. Yeah, 3 times.
I mean, I'll never forget saying something about hate fucking people and my partner being like, "What?"
He didn't understand hate fucking?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, weird."
Really?
Yeah, because that was like one of my
Next fight.
Well,
go home and start an argument.
I don't know. I also think there's a little bit of a gender thing there. Like most female
true.
identifying people that I talk to are like, yeah, duh. And like, I think some men that I talk to relate to it, but more often than not, it's like something that I think there's different gender relationships there.
I would be curious to learn more about that. Maybe we should do a poll on our page, because now I want to know, do men... Wait, Oscar? What's your opinion on hate fucking? He said it depends. Okay.
Well, I mean,
that's interesting.
I also want to like note, for example, for some men who maybe have suppressed anger for so long and like don't know how to express it.
I think that's every man, but yeah, keep going. Okay. Not to, I'm sorry, men, but like it's
No,
it's
but
true.
I feel like, for some men, it's channeled into like being scared of how to like unleash their anger because they think, there's always that like societal, cloud of like, don't hit your woman. And it's like, it's not what you want to do. You want to probably hit something, but not her. So,
Right.
But
buy
don't
the
hit
pillow.
the drywall either because
Yeah.
then, that's not great for your hand. And on top of that, now you have a hole to fix. Just throw a pillow.
Yeah.
Throw a pillow.
Throw a pillow.
Punch your couch.
Punch the pillow. Punch the couch.
The couch can take it.
Like, exactly. The wall cannot.
a punching bag.
Why are you going to be punching hard things?
Exactly. And see, that's the thing. It's like, I think expressing anger, you do need to have some safety around it. That's why, like, for me, like, it was with pillows. I made sure the pets were out of the way. And like, I was very cognizant of those things because I was like, I'm not harming myself or anyone around me. Just the pillow. And I even like thanked the pillow afterwards because like the pillow may not be a being, but I still thanked
but
the
you
pillow.
are.
Yeah, for like taking my energy and kind of like really giving me that
And
moment.
honestly, the pillow stored the energy because then nobody's going after it.
My dog, I still can't get over
We literally one time I forgot where we were going, but we were going to be home. We weren't going to be home for like a few hours. So we left Lobo outside of his kennel. And you just, we have a little camera set up inside the house. And you just see him like take the pillow, put it on the floor. And then he's made this huge gash in it. And he's just like taking out all the stuffing and like,
it was so cute. It was adorable to watch. I was like pissed because there's fluff everywhere, but I was like, this is so cute. But yeah, that's I think that's a thing, to keep in mind. Just don't harm yourself or the environment around you.
or the drywall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, as you were saying that, I'm thinking, I think the flip side of it is a lot of, when I was saying earlier that a lot of the people who wind up in front of me have a hard time even feeling anger. There's the people pleasing component, but then there is also like the more like broad socialized gender component where I think a lot of the messaging for men is like, here are the avenues where anger is okay.
Yep.
Right? Like, here are the expressions of anger that are socially acceptable. And for women, there actually aren't really any of those.
No.
In
Right.
fact, then we get called crazy bitches or whatever. And
Mad
yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of the women that I wind up working with have just learned that that's like not an option at all. And
Yeah.
they've learned how to be peacekeeper and
That's true.
not like respond to things with anger, but to constantly be able to like see things from someone else's perspective or, kind of glaze over at
Validate their
something.
feelings. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
One time, I don't know why this reminded me of that, but one time in college, I had a coworker who had like a 1 or 2 year old little boy, and they were, she was a single mom. They were shopping at a grocery store, and like he got mad about something, didn't get the candy, whatever, and he just started screaming, like in the middle of the aisle. So she just looked at him and she just started screaming with him, just at the top of her lungs, just ah!
I love that.
And then she said she did that, and then all of a sudden he stopped.
Yeah.
And he just like looked at her, and then they like did it a little bit more together, and then he stopped, and then it was fine.
I love that.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
If I ever have kids, I'm going to do the same thing.
And
Well, because there's also, there's, oh my God, I could talk about anger for days.
I know.
I'm like,
I love
this
this
conversation
topic.
could go on forever.
I love this
But, like,
topic.
one of the things that often comes up, I'm thinking of a few clients I have who like we do sessions when like their kid is in the other room, like somewhere in the house where like, I'll be inviting them into a tantrum or something, and they're like, well, I can't go there because like my kid down the hall will get upset. You know what I mean? Or like they're concerned about how that expression is going to impact their children. And like, I appreciate that. And I also want us to be modeling for kids.
Yeah.
You can be angry.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there are okay ways of tapping into that.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and when we've gotten so deep into that pattern of like, I have to contain it so much, it can build up in this way where like, then we're really afraid to tap into it at all because we think it's going to completely overwhelm our system. And like, that's something that I work on a lot with clients when we're starting to tap into it. Like the people who have kind of completely disconnected from anger and we want to start feeling it a little bit. That's one of the things that comes up so much is like, well, I don't I don't want to go there because like then I won't get back to feeling like it'll just take over my life for like a week. It'll be the only thing I can feel.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of work that we do around like how do you tap into it and then come back out, right? Like how do you like let your body know that we're going to feel this for a short amount of time and then be able to contain it again.
I think for me personally, like at least how I went into my little tantrum, because, you know, it was a lot of anger that I released. And I remember when I wrote everything down, I realized I was like, wow, I've been holding on to a lot. And so that's why for me, I think I queued up like 5 or 6 songs, and I was like, I'm going to do this until I like, well, the little playlist is over, but also I was like, until I feel like at least in this moment, I've released just about everything that I can in throwing these pillows. So I can start in terms of like exerting my body in that moment. And I think I actually kind of finished a little bit early. I didn't even get through all 6 songs. I think it was.
Didn't get to Mr. Brightside, but closing time.
I did finish early.
I want this playlist.
It was just my top like 5 or 6 Linkin Park songs, but I will send it. But anyways, like I got through, I think it was like 3, maybe 4 songs. And then like, I just kind of felt myself like really just like, and just, I felt my arms were already getting a little tired at that point. And I'm like, okay, I think I've had it. And I told myself too, I was like, if I need to return back to this, I can. But like instead, actually what I did, I started cleaning. At 9 p.m. at night, and I started cleaning.
Yep.
Because at that point,
It was spotless when I returned.
You two are so healthy.
I'll take it. I really feel like my somatic therapy has just helped me leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
So
I've
the
just-
work y'all do is
Yeah. No, I agree. I just think people need to tap into the body so much more. I love talking about things. We have a podcast, obviously. I love talking, and I'm all about, you know, like verbally and like intellectualizing
Wait,
whatever.
we should host an anger night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, yes.
I just got like flashes of like I went on a surprise date to a rage room a few months ago, and it was like,
I love that.
oh my God, just the best.
Surprise date to
a rage room.
Wow.
What a combo.
Yeah, like the car started driving, and I was like, I don't know where we're going. Like, we'll find. And like the whole way there, it was like an hour-long drive because, like, you know, out in the desert.
Yeah.
And like 5 minutes before we got there, I figured it out, which was
Love
like
that.
weird because we were going to a town that I'd never been to. Oh, wow. But I was like, what could this possibly be? And then I was like,
Love
I'm
that.
angry.
That's a great
And
idea.
he can tell.
Yeah. But how supportive. And
No,
like,
it was
what
great.
a great.
It was
yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
I love
really
that.
amazing.
I actually really like that idea.
We'll have the Linkin Park
The
set
playlist.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and a fuck ton of pillows.
Amazing.
I'm trying to think what else you could use
I've got
besides
some.
pillows or like something else that like could be a really good.
I've got some.
I
other
could see like
ideas.
breaking pencils could be really like therapeutic.
Or like old stuffed animals that you can like rip apart.
Yeah, something like that would be great too.
Well,
So, I don't know. To anyone listening, I just want you to know you can have your tantrum, go do it safely in a way that like feels healthy. Give yourself the space to do it. Figure out how you and your partner, maybe you each need a tantrum, especially after like the kids have a tantrum and like, you know, so like each of you take 5 minutes in the bedroom. You go have your tantrum and I'll go have mine after.
leave the good pillow for me.
Have like a tantrum pillow. I don't know. I just like, ever since that moment for me, I just started getting like so much more like into my anger, but like in a way that I was like, I feel like I'm finally, and you know, here I am almost 30 years old, finally learning how to like really express it in some ways. And it felt like really proud. And I just like wanted to like share it. Cause I'm like, I want other people to know, like, you can do this. Like you can find ways to like get that ball of anger out of you.
Yeah. Well, and what I was thinking about when you were saying that you didn't even get to the last song is like also with those clients who are afraid that it's going to be really overwhelming and just like take over for them. When we actually fully get into it, like when you get into like the full expression of that coming out of your body and you stay with it long enough for it to like come to completion, it's not actually that long.
Yeah.
For you,
It's true.
for you to like get the full wave out, but it's about getting like into the full expression of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then your body sort of naturally brings you to the place of like, okay, I'm done for now.
Yeah.
Right. Like there might be more anger to process.
Yeah.
But if
you
I
did it at that
let
time.
myself ride that wave, then that wave eventually comes to the shore.
No, I agree, because I kind of thought the same thing, where I was like, I thought I was going to be in it like a lot longer, but once I like really like fully committed into it and I was just like really throwing everything all over the place, like I realized just like, especially like with big movements, like you really wind up and throw the pillow. Like with that, like it's so much exertion that like it really does take a lot out of you. And so like you feel it kind of like come pretty quick or go pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So 1,000%.
I
Where-
loved this episode.
Yeah.
I just want to
Which is just like one more plug, I think, for like actually figuring out ways to work it out in your partnerships, your relationships, whatever. Because like if you think about like if you're not expressing your anger fully and you're trying to contain it all the time, there's like a low level of tension that's
Yeah.
going to carry through around that.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's going to be
persistently.
present in everything.
Right.
And it's probably going to show up in the form of resentment eventually.
Yeah.
resentment, could be disease, could be
Eventually it'll manifest into disease, you know, because like the body, that's like what our bodies do if we just ignore something for long enough. So,
Or like, if we're talking about it in the context with a partner, if you're not getting your anger across for long enough, you're just going to be annoyed with everything in that partnership all the time.
yeah,
Versus
everything they do, that wrong breath, wrong chew, whatever, like you're just going to be like,
right, like you got to get it out. And
You
then
have to
all of
get
a
it
sudden
out.
you're like, oh yeah, I do like you.
yeah, you're not that bad.
Don't mind the way you swallow. Well, I think that's time.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're there. But yeah, Irene, thank you for joining us for this conversation.
Yeah,
I knew
thanks
you'd
so
be the
much for
perfect
having
person
me.
to do it. I was like, as soon as I was like, oh, I want to have a conversation about this, I was like, Irene. So thank you.
When you said that, I was so thrilled. I was like, yes.
Good. I'm
Always,
glad to
always
hear-
yes to anger.
And let's plan the anger night. I think that'd be a really fun event.
Yeah.
1,000%. But if you want to plug yourself, feel free.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm Irene Morning. You can find me on Instagram at Irene_morning. My website is irenemorning.com. If you haven't yet read my book, you can get a free copy through my website.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
And then it's also, is it also on Amazon?
It's also on Amazon. If you're like me and you like to actually hold the thing, you can
The
get it
book?
on Amazon. And
Nice.
It's the Polyamory Paradox.
Great book. Highly recommend.
Yes.
And y'all know where to find us at Double Teen Podcast or doubleteenpodcast.com. And we'll see you guys next time.
We're
Thanks
going
for
to see an
joining.
uptick in pillow sales. Wear condoms, guys.